Welcome to the Praying and Slaying Podcast, a Light the Fire Outdoors production, where meatheads Aaron and John take you through a day in the life of the praying and slaying lifestyle. Without further ado, here's the next episode of the Praying and Slaying Podcast. How's it going, everybody? A-Aron with Praying and Slaying Podcast and Light the Fire Outdoors. I am driving home currently. So this is the first on-the-road episode for the Praying and Slaying Podcast. Coming home from a dealer, pretty cool dealer event we had going on at APOC World in Anaconda, Montana. They are a local gun, archery, kind of all-around sporting goods store in Montana, and they've got a really, really cool setup there, all kinds of things going on. And tonight they had a really cool event, elk calling seminar to kind of kick off, elk calling competition actually too, to kick off the hunting season here in Montana, and all their customers. We had a good showing out there. Myself and my good buddy Jeremy Chavilicek. I know you're going to catch him on a couple episodes here, probably pretty quick on the Praying and Slaying podcast. He was there with me, helping me out, talking to customers about Tacticam, getting people hooked up with some new Tacticam gear to share your hunt this fall. And we love the Tacticams. We use them on all the Light the Fire Outdoors videos, and it's what we film with 99% of the time. And getting some new people hooked up with some new gear there, so that was pretty cool. Always a good time hanging out with the other reps that we know from the industry, and also just hanging out with some of our dealers and people who are passionate about the outdoors like we are. So that was really cool. Anyway, I know it's been a little bit. We took a little bit of a break with Praying and Slaying. John and I both have a lot going on and all kinds of stuff, and this is going to be a solo with just me today because John, first of all, it's 10:30 at night Mountain Time, so 11:30 at night John's time. And anyway, I just wanted to... John and I were doing some talking about what we wanted to bring you guys, and we know that there's some reflection that we wanted to do with Praying and Slaying, and as far as bringing God into the outdoors and stuff like that. And just driving, it's quiet, it's dark on the road, it's beautiful. If you've never driven through the Big Belt Mountains between Helena and Great Falls, Montana at night, it is one of my favorite absolute drives in the world. It's a whole different ballgame at night. You just have the twists and turns of the road, and I don't know. Good time to reflect. It's pretty cool. So listening to one of my favorite podcasts, the Meat Eater podcast with Stephen Ranilla, and I figured, what the heck, man, that one got over, so let's make another one. Anyway, I hope everybody's been doing well. We got a lot going on in this day and age in our world. Just absolute madness at times, craziness at times, but there's also still good things going on, and it's always good to remember that. And I know going out into the everyday world and getting to go to events like this with people and getting people together, it's kind of cool to see that, hey man, the crap that goes on TV and the media and all that crap that it wants to portray and how bad everything is, it's not true. I mean, yeah, there's bad things. There's always going to be bad things that happen, and we could always be doing better at certain things. But at the end of the day, man, if you get out there and enjoy the people who you love being around and just love on people and do your best to be the best person you can be, and I don't know, just get out there and do your thing, you'd be pretty darn surprised how much BS we get sucked into with social media and wasting our time there, and just media in general anymore. It just seems like it's such a negative hot zone that it's so hard to focus. And anyway, times like this are where I really get a chance to reflect on things and think about things and just let my mind relax. And I don't know about you, but myself and I know John and a lot of my good friends and family, we got jobs during the day that we've been fortunate enough to keep during this tough time. I know a lot of people out there might not have jobs that have been stable with the COVID and all that BS, but at the end of the day, I'm very blessed to say that I do. And at the end of the day, I sit back sometimes, I'm like, man, it's just a high-intensity job in sales and things like that. And it's just good to have moments of quiet, just to sit back, reflect, think about, get regrounded on who you are as a person, who I am as a person, get, kind of recentered on myself, reflect on things, the good things, the things I need to work on, and places I can improve, and just places that I'm blessed, and all those different things. And I don't think our world takes enough time to do that anymore. It's a product of us being so connected at times, and then, I think there's a false sense of belonging that comes with social media and the constant engagement we have in a digital world that isn't our real world. And I think there's a big disconnect there, and I don't know that we always see it as being disconnected from reality. And in a way it is. I think it's more of an illusion that you're connected via social media than it is a reality. And I think that's my personal opinion, but I really think a lot of the things and the craziness that we have going on in our world today is because we've lost the ability to sit back, get quiet, connect one-on-one, with God, but be with yourself, and just realize, who am I at my core? What do I believe at my core? What are my personal thoughts on this situation, given all the information I have? And we've also lost the ability to just take time to, fact check things. Social media, we get so absorbed in, what's this person doing? What's that person doing? Oh, this celebrity this celebrity that. And you get caught up in this fast-paced, nonstop, emotional roller coaster of just these ups and downs that we lose sense of who we are, and we lose sense of everything else. And it's a big, giant distraction for 99% of us. And, it's just crazy. And then on top of that, it's a place where we can really get lost in translation. There's a lot of times where we share things possibly, or we see things and we take them at face value. We take them at Facebook value, I should say. We don't take them at face value because we don't even know what face value is anymore. We take things at Facebook value where, I semi-agree with that. That seems like it could be true. Let me share that real quick. I'm not going to lie, I've been caught up in it. I see something and I get an emotional reaction to it, and I just click the share button because I'm like, man, someone else needs to see this. But then, I get called out on it, or, someone in the comments is like, hey, bro, did you fact check that? Actually, here's the truth on it. And you feel like you're 2 inches tall when you see that, if you care about it. But at the end of the day, half of us just share it and forget it, or we want to share it and see what other reactions we get, because it's just this giant trap that's built on algorithms that are designed to get emotional reactions out of people, clickbait, and we all fall into it, and we're a bunch of catfish. I grew up in Iowa, so Adventureland was a theme park that had this big giant pond in the middle of it, and you could go feed catfish. You throw a handful of food in there, it's a feeding frenzy. And that's what social media is for 99% of us. We get so sucked up in thinking that our BS matters on there, and it really doesn't. And it's it just turns into this giant cycle. But the whole point of me going on this little rant is getting back to our center is something that I believe is a crucial part of life, and I don't think that enough of us do it anymore. We don't have quiet time. We don't have time to ourselves. We don't have time to think for ourselves, or just spend time and be quiet with our loved ones without video cameras rolling, without Snapchats rolling, without social media rolling. And then we get caught up in times like this, where you have, I don't know what everybody's opinion is, and it doesn't really matter for this conversation, but COVID, or like all these different crazy things going on. And it's just, all it does is it turns into a giant cesspool of negativity and a giant cesspool of crap that we all get caught up in, and we all get emotionally tied to, and we all get emotionally reactive to. And it just creates a big cycle of craziness. And just watching the world go crazy right now, I think a lot of it is the devil working behind the scenes. He's got his hand on every part of our lives just as much as God does, and sometimes more, because we have the ability as humans to choose what we want to do. God gave us free will for a reason, and I think that was very, very intentional on his part to do that, because at the end of the day, he's not going to force you to choose him, or to follow him, or to follow what he kind of gave us as a guide, or follow Jesus. He gives you the opportunity to choose what you want to do with your life. And if that doesn't tell you right there that he's better than any single person out there, or anything out there you have in your life, I don't know what else you can say much about that. But on the other hand, you have the devil, who's very, very manipulative. He takes every opportunity he has to distract us. He takes every opportunity he has to manipulate our situations, manipulate stories, manipulate words and what we've said. And look at AKA look at the media. I guarantee you, if you fact checked and looked at an entire transcript of 99% of quotes that are said about any president, or about any famous person or whatever, where the media is trying to put a negative spin on it, I bet you if you took the time, most of the time, if you went back in and read the entire transcript of a conversation or watched the video of the actual conversation and what actually got said, most of it's taken out of context. And I think that's a trick on the devil to kind of gear us that way and let ourselves twist words and twist stories and things to make things seem worse than they are, or make us believe certain things. And then once you're so far down a rabbit hole, that's when he's really got you. And he's got you like a puppet to pull your strings and make you do what he wants you to do or think what you want you to think. And then you're stuck unless you take that time to sit back and say, hold on a second. I'm my own person. I've got my own mind to make up. I've got my own heart to set my beliefs on. I've got my own path I want to set for my life. Where am I? Who am I? And what am I trying to do? And I don't know, just driving through the mountainside, I thought that was something that was, maybe valuable to share, and I hope it reaches somebody. And it's something that I love about the great outdoors and being a hunter and being a sportsman. We get a very blessed opportunity every single year, at least a couple times for a lot of us, and maybe some of us spend more time than others. We get time to just get outside and get raw with the world as it really is, and take away the human factor. And the human factor, because we have the ability to make our own decisions and make our own choices and think our own thoughts and let our hearts get set on things. A lot of times we can there's a couple different paths we can go down, and one of them leads down a path of twisted and negativity and confusion and uncertainty, and the other path is, all things considered, there's good times, bad times, and everything else, but at the end of the day, if you know where you're at, your head's at, and you're doing the right thing and you're following the right path, you'd be surprised at how many things just work out, and how if your mind knows that things are going to work out, you can weather any storm that's out there, and you can weather any COVID explosion, or you can weather any, giant media explosion about stuff that they want you to think or whatever. And it's crazy, and it just kind of it doesn't really faze you as much. You kind of sit back and you look at the world and you're like, wow, like just the craziness, that's all it is craziness. It's nothing, there's no deep-rooted foundation to it. But being sportsmen, we get a chance to get out and reflect on ourselves. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what brought John and I together to do this podcast for Praying and Slaying. And him and I come from different backgrounds, but we are deep rooted in one common place, and that's a place where we get to go and sit back and get quiet, reflect on ourselves. And just that energy alone brought us together in this world. And get a chance now to have a podcast and launch messages to the world, or the people who want to listen, and just share our thoughts and obviously our hunting experiences and all that stuff that we love and we enjoy. But it's times like this too that I think as humans, God gave us a voice for a reason. He gave us an ability to listen for a reason. And I think if we have a voice and we've got platforms and we can use them, we can just put these thoughts out there, and there's somebody maybe who's getting a little too noisy in their life, or who's just really beating themselves up, or sitting back and saying, man, I feel so stressed, I feel so overwhelmed with everything that's going on, can't even think straight. And I would just encourage you guys to take some time and get quiet. I know for me, I need it. I'm only 30 years old, but I'll be honest, I had my first chest pains over the last couple of weeks, and I don't know what it is or what it was, but man, I tell you, I know for a fact it was from stress. And I was like, holy smokes, man, that just tells you something right there. Like, there is a lot going on, between work and life, and I've got family in town, and just traveling and keeping up with this, keeping up with that. Probably caffeine doesn't help. I'm a caffeine junkie. But either way, man, it's just it showed me that, hey, you know what, I need some time to reflect. And I think God gave me this chance to go out here and just blow off some steam, hang out with some dealers, hang out with some good friends, and at the end of the day, I'm still working, but I was having fun doing it, and just kind of allow myself to reflect and remind myself how much fun I have doing the job I have, and how much fun I have as a sportsman, and the camaraderie we have as a community of sportsmen, and the times that we have to get quiet with ourselves and reflect and just really reroute and reorganize and reground ourselves. So, I think, at the end of the day, we got 2 feet that keep us stable. They allow us to stand for, what we are, and we got a platform, we got a foundation. If you got a firm foundation, you got a lot to stand on. We got 2 feet for a reason, and we got one head. So those 2 feet give us the foundation to stand on. If we got a firm belief set, and then you got a head, that makes your decisions and kind of guides your path at the end of the day. But it's just a cool place to be. So take time, get quiet, go, just shut the phone off, get outside, do something, go fishing, take a nice long drive. I grew up in Iowa, man. Some of the stuff that we did for fun was drive around, and I think it's kind of cool. It's something I don't realize is a foundation of mine, but there are times when I just need to get out of the house and go for a drive. Turn the radio on, maybe throw some music on that I haven't listened to in a while or something like that, and just literally just think. Just let your head roll. Let all that crap that gets bottled up in there fall out, and you're a new man or a new woman when you get to the house. For me, I'm a new man, but either way, it's besides the point. It's 2020. So, with that, guys, I just want to say God bless. I'm going to go ahead and, this is, 15 minutes in. I'm going to try to stick us to a half hour, maybe 45 minutes time frame, and I'm going to go solo on a story for you on my first ever turkey hunt here in Montana, because I did go, it's the second turkey hunt. Anyway, first time I was successful on a Mirriam turkey in Montana. I know we didn't get a finish of that turkey taker series, but we need to wrap this turkey takers up because we are getting to antelope season here in Montana, starting here in a week, or if it hasn't already started, for the 900 tag guys. And we got September coming, elk season, deer season's coming, archery season's coming. We got other things to talk about at this point. Plus, I got my first trail camera, so I'm sure John is going to have a fun time with that, listening to my excitement about trail cameras, because I was never a guy to get excited about that in the past. So anyway, let's take you down a road for a turkey story while I finish up my drive. So this year, I was 100% lucky enough to draw a very, very hard tag to get in Montana for a Region 4 turkey tag. I believe this year there was 20 tags total, and yours truly was happy enough and blessed enough to get a tag. And I happened to know where some birds were on some private ground that I'd seen in years past. And so anyway, I went up there and did some scouting and finally found some birds. And this year in Montana was a little weird. We had different, the tags were a little different. So if you drew a tag, you got an email, and you have to take that email and go to a registered license agent, so Walmart, hardware store, whatever, and print that tag off. I did not know that. So anyway, normally you get the tag mailed to you if you draw something like a special tag or whatever. So anyway, I never had a tag mailed to me, but I knew on my, if you log into the system, you can see what tags you draw and what tags you were unsuccessful for. And I had that proof there, so I'd screenshotted that. I'm like, well, worst case, man, I guess I show a game warden and call it in right when I get it or whatever. So I drive out on a random Saturday. It was like opening weekend or something. I can't really remember now, but anyway, go out north of where I live, where I knew there was turkeys, and sure thing, I run into several fields just absolutely loaded with Mirriams, just big old toms strutting out there, hens all over the place, thinking, man, if I can get permission, I need to make this happen. This is awesome. And so I kept driving to where I could turn around and to this little town has like a little gas station I pulled off in, and I was just getting ready to turn around, checking my mirrors for traffic on the highway, and a thought crossed my mind, like, you better call the game warden. Like, you don't have a tag in your pocket. Don't go shoot something without a tag in your pocket. Just point blank, period. It's not good. You could get in trouble even though you technically say you got successfully drawn and you don't know what's going on. So I called the game warden. I had a number for the guy who had actually I talked with before, met on a couple other hunting trips, and talked to him about it. He's like, no, man, he's like, congrats on the tag. Yeah, definitely, you're good to go, but you have to go to a local place and just check your email inbox. Here's what the email should say. So with him on the phone, I got my email open. I had signal enough to do that. And sure enough, there was an email in this email inbox I never check, the one I use for my login. And he said, yep, take that email into a local store. Where you at? And I told him where I was at. And he's like, your closest licensed dealer is here at this local hardware store. Go there, they'll take care of you. I'm like, all right, sweet. So I take my email in, and sure enough, I give it to the guy. This is the first time he's done this, so he's learning something. I'm learning something. Pay my fee and print out a tag, and I'm off and on my way. So then I I call the landowner that onX had listed for the place, and I think maybe land had changed hands or something. And anyway, long story short, I didn't get, the person I was talking to was not the landowner I wanted to get in touch with, and they really didn't have interest in talking with me a whole lot. So I was like, well, there's some block management down there in Montana. There's what's called block management units, and that's where you can hunt on private land with permission by the landowner, with either you sign in at a sign-in box and get access, or you have to call the landowner with, specific guidelines, and they'll give you a date and schedule you to go hunt there, or however they want to do it. They kind of set the rules versus you just self-administering access. So anyway, this particular block management that was very, very close to that piece of private where I had seen the birds was block management. And so I went and I signed it in the box, and I pulled in, and I'm sitting there in the truck. It starts raining. So I'm like, oh crap, I'm not going to get out here and go get soaked if I don't know there's birds here. And I'm sitting there and I've got the windshield wipers on, and I finally look up and I see a turkey coming through this cattle lot. And I'm like, no kidding. So I get my binos up. It's a big old tom. He's feeding, and there's another tom with him. I'm like, well, there we go. There's birds on this block management piece. I'm going to go. So grab my Tacticam Wide. I had it on a ground stake. I was going to try doing a turkey reap, which for those of you who don't know, you take a turkey fan and essentially hide behind it to make the birds get comfortable and think that you are a turkey, and then they'll come to you, or they'll be at least comfortable enough to let you get within shooting distance of them. And feeling totally confident. I was the only guy out there on a rainy day opening weekend, and there's only one spot to park in this spot. There was no one else out there. I decided that was a good bet. So I got out of the truck, grabbed the Reaper, grabbed the 5.0 wide on the stake, get my gun ready, and head out across this field. When the turkeys would kind of get behind these trees, I'd sneak down below this ditch line and go about as fast as I could, at full crouch, and get so far and kind of pop up behind that turkey fan, look at the birds. They really didn't have a whole lot of interest, or didn't show a lot of interest in what I was doing. So I just kept, I was playing hide and seek with them. As they would get behind trees or brush or a hill line or whatever, I would sneak a little further. Well, then as I finally get to this fence line that I've got to cross, and I'm still on the block management unit, and I happen to look up, and there's a ditch line about 40 yards in front of me that's lower than the ground I'm on, like a little waterway or something that used to be there. And there's probably 15 or 20 birds tucked in that, and they're all like kind of hiding in the rain or whatever. And so I got back down thinking I was busted. Well, then turkeys, I've never seen turkeys this big. They're definitively birds that do not get hunted, and they hang out in a cattle lot and they get fat. It was just big old, not a care in the world Mirriam birds. So they get up out of this ditch, they start walking away from me, and they get up to where they can see me in the decoy, and they stop and they kind of look back. And at the end of the day, they decide, no, this guy's nothing to be afraid of. Let's just keep doing our thing. So I'm like, all right. And so I kind of use the decoy. I get it through the fence and stand it back up to hide me crawling through the fence. And I crawl through there, and I'm laying on the ground. I'm watching. I'm thinking, okay, one of these birds might pop up and I could probably shoot it. So I get my cameras on, get ready, holding the gun up. I'm trying to film them. And I don't have my rangefinder on me. I did, but it was at my bino harness on my chest in a bunch of, dirt and cow crap at that point. So I didn't want to move a whole lot and get to it. Because for those of you who have turkey hunted in the past or have not, either way, turkeys are usually pretty skittish. They see a whole lot and they're not comfortable with it. They don't really stick around long. They get out of there. They have great eyesight, great sense of hearing. So my mind, in years of turkey hunting experience, told me the less moving you do, the better, unless you're moving to reap. So I didn't want to move and grab my rangefinder to guesstimate, but my guesstimate was they were just at that threshold of shotgun range, and I didn't want to. There's other turkey hunting stories that tell you I don't want to play around with my shotgun experience. So anyway, I just decided it was better not to try to take a shot. So the birds get up. They moved to the other side of this feedlot. There's some hay and you could tell there's a lot of corn that got dumped in there and stuff like that. I don't know if the farmer had fed the cows there at one point or whatever. But anyway, the turkeys were happy as all get out in there pecking around, picking corn and bugs and everything else out of the downed hay bale. And I kind of use that to my advantage, and every time they'd all look really, really comfortable, I'd kind of just slowly move, I got on my knees, and I was crawling on my knees behind this turkey fan and turkey reaper decoy, and just trying to get close enough to them, but they just would stay like at 60, 65 yards. They didn't want to get any closer than that. They weren't scared of me. They just had zero interest in letting me get any closer than that. They're like, oh, we know we're real turkeys. That one looks funny. It's got a 240-pound man crawling behind it. We're not going to mess with it. So I end up deciding my best bet might just be to plug this decoy into the ground, lay down behind it, and just lay in wait for an ambush. And, worst case, they move off to a spot where I can just get up, run back to the truck, grab my ground blind, and come all the way back and set my ground blind up for maybe like an afternoon hunt. So I lay there. It's raining. I'm laying on the ground, flat out in the open, behind a turkey decoy, and it was probably every bit of 2 hours, just laying there getting wet. My gun's getting wet, I'm getting wet, and I'm just watching these birds and enjoying myself. It was a time, and that was kind of cool because I had some time to, I've never hunted Mirriam birds before. It was really cool just to see a whole different species of turkey, kind of see how they interact compared to eastern birds that I'm used to hunting. And just at the end of the day, they're a different bird altogether, but these ones, especially with no hunting pressure, like I said, 20 tags this year. The year before was 15 tags in that unit, and they just don't get hunted. So it was, they were just totally unpressured birds, and it was really cool to kind of just watch them interact with themselves. And it got me reflecting on every, again, got time to get quiet, laying out there in the wide open. It's raining, it's peaceful. At the end of the day, it's kind of miserable, but I'm having fun, and you're just connecting with yourself at that point, and regrounding yourself, refocusing in on what's important, and enjoying the moment, enjoying the hunt. For 2 hours straight in the rain, I was doing that. And so anyway, these birds finally move off to a point where and the rain kind of picked up, so they moved off into the brush, and the birds kind of tucked in under some of the different like buffalo berry, and there's some other random shrubs and things in this like really thick, dense piece right along the river bottom I was hunting. And you could see their red heads, actually. The toms, their heads were really, really red, and so they stuck out in the brush. You could see them all, but they were like tucked in back there, and I'm like, man, I'm trying to plot out like stocks in my head of how I could maybe sneak into the brush and jump shoot one or whatever, but then in the back of my mind's like, no, you got to get a good Tacticam video, to show your dealers, and you work for a point of view camera company for hunters. You got to try to get some good footage. So that's not going to make for very good footage, and at the end of the day, this is my first bird. I would just personally really like good footage of this. So that was kind of the only reason I held out longer than I did. So about 2.5 hours goes by, and the birds finally, the rain kind of stops. The sun tries peeking out behind some clouds. The birds get kind of comfortable again. They all stand up, shake their feathers, and they start going back to business. Well, they work their way. At this point, I'd had enough time to get my rangefinder out, and I was just ranging random birds, and they got about 200 yards away, and the most of the times were going into full strut. They were starting around trying to show off for the hens. At 200 yards dead in front of me, working this shrub line that they all were just previously hiding in, and periodically there was clumps of tall grass, and I'm in essentially I'm in a cattle pasture, basically, and I've got this dip that drops about 3 feet below, in between me and the birds, and that dip is, 20, 30 yards wide probably, but that dip is nasty as all get out. It's got a bunch of hay. You can tell the cattle were hanging out in there. It's full of cow crap, just muddy. I'm like, I've got to get across that, and there's one big box elder tree that was between me and where these birds were, and I'm like, if I could get into that dip, I'm either going to have to crawl to stay below it, or stand up and hope the birds don't spook and get behind that box elder tree before I can start evaluating what my next move is. Well, lucky enough, the hens moved off far enough that there was only 3 toms left that I could see out in that pasture, and they would alternate. They were just standing in one spot, but they'd all turn in tandem. They'd either be facing me at full strut, or they'd turn away and their fans would be facing me at full strut. And so finally I'm like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my decoy where it's at to keep the attention back there, because they all know that decoy's there. And I'm going to take off running when they turn away from me, and get as far as I can get. And the second I see one start to turn, I'm going to stop and freeze and just don't move. And that's what I did. So I took off. I had to stop one time, and then they all turned again, and I took off running, and I got behind that box elder tree and started making my next game plan. Well, now they were at about 200 yards. Now I'm at about 170-ish, 150-ish maybe. And I took my vinyl harness off. I ranged the birds one more time, and the closest one was about 120 yards. And I'm like, okay, I've got to close the distance at least 60 yards here. And the only problem is I've got to crawl on my belly behind a couple sagebrush bushes and a few clumps and lines of grass that were, if I were to do anything more than a belly crawl, like army crawl, I am going to pop up behind these things. They're not very tall, but they're there, and they're between me and these birds. So I bought my moment again, waited for all the birds to turn away, and I laid down on the ground, got my gun out in front of me. I got a wide 5.0 Tacticam in my hand facing me, just kind of documenting the crawling, and you'll see that when I put the video together. And I've got my 5.0 on my gun facing forward. So I'm like, all right, we're going to get this thing. It's going to be some sweet footage. So get down on my belly, and I start crawling. Every time I see one of those fans start turning to where the bird's eyes are facing me, I stop moving. When they turn the other direction, I could tell I was looking at the back of the turkey fan above the grass line, I would take off and start crawling. So I do this, and I'm starting and stopping, and I'm legitimately crawling through cow pies and everything else. I mean, it's just straight cattle pasture, but it's like, dude, this is the coolest turkey hunt I've ever been on. And if I pull this off, like, by far, this tops any other turkey hunt I've been on. You know, I mean, I've been on a lot. They're always cool, but this one is like spot and stock turkeys. It's tough. It's not an easy hunt. So anyway, I get to a spot, and all of a sudden I start seeing hens, and I'm like, oh crap, because these hens are right out in the open, and they start talking. They start clucking and talking, and when birds start talking and you've been moving, usually you're busted. Like, they're telling each other, hey, something's up, everybody kind of look out real quick. They weren't like doing their little real high-pitched warning clucks, but they were definitely talking. I look up, there's a couple hens standing on this down cottonwood tree, and they're high enough they can see me, and I didn't even notice them because they were standing still at first. So I'm like, damn it, I'm busted. Well, what they did is they called these 3 toms I was sneaking in on to directly in front of me when they were about at 11 o'clock position to the line I was crawling, to directly 12 o'clock in front of me. And I'm like, oh crap, because now they've got a direct line of sight to me. I'm not behind the grass anymore. I don't have any more sage in between us. And I'm like, well, either they're going to walk over to those hens and I'll never get a shot and they'll all end up in the brush and this stocks up, or I'll just have to lay here and see what happens. So I just stopped crawling for a minute. The hens kind of calm down. The toms get out there, and one of them in particular doesn't go over to the hens. He's a good-sized tom, and he stops literally in the only clearing I have between these 2 patches of grass. He stops right there, and instead of going left or right, which would have kept him out of my line of sight, would have kept him safe, he starts strutting away from me, and then he turns around and struts towards me. And it was probably a 10 or 15 yard stretch that he would do this on. Well, when he would reach the end of that 15-yard stretch towards me, he was at about 40 yards, which is, I've got a 3.5-inch 12-gauge Mossberg gun, a.k.a., if you don't know, that's enough to plug a 40-yard shot on a turkey. So I'm watching him, and I'm like, man, I left my rangefinder at that tree. I don't know how far that is, but I know, like, you've done it enough. I know that's within my range of comfortable shooting, but I don't know what kind of video I'm going to get. That was like my holdback. And I'm like, man, if I move, I'm probably going to get busted. I'm not going to be able to make that happen. But if I don't move, I don't know what kind of footage I'm going to get. And then my just hunter instinct kicked in and said, you know what, dude, this is your first hunt. You've got total documentation of this for a Mirriam. Just go for it. Like, this is just a blast. This is the coolest turkey hunt I've done. If I pull this off, we're going to make it. And so this bird starts strutting towards me. You can watch it in the video. I get my gun up on my elbows, point it right down the lane that he's going to pop into. He pops into that lane. I pull the trigger, and he flops over just stone dead, doesn't even move. And it was just like sheer excitement when I watched him flop over, didn't even move, good shot. And I mean, when I pulled that trigger, 4 or 5 other birds gobbled. It was kind of funny because I could not get these darn things to gobble almost the entire day. I think they gobbled like twice at me. And all the birds gobbled that were male in there when I pulled that trigger. And then I'm sitting there letting things calm down. I'm like, okay, I'm going to let those other birds get out of here. Well, if you ever hunted turkeys, they always come back. Male birds will come back and beat up on a dead male bird. And sure enough, here comes this big old Tom. He comes in to beat up on my bird, and I'm filming him thinking, oh, this is kind of cool. And then my mind goes to, oh, crap, like, I don't want my first Mirriam bird to be all beat up and tore up, but he's going to be a cool mount on the wall. So I get up on my knees, and the bird kind of looks at me, and then he goes back to beating up on my Tom, and I'm 40 yards away, full-grown dude sitting on my knees, and he doesn't care. Well, when I sit up, and you see it in the video too, all the, like 50 other birds come out of the timber and out of the brush and start just walking towards the bird that's beating up on mine. I'm like, what the hell? So I get up, I stand up, and the birds they kind of all turn around. They're like, wait, what's that? And they don't really care. And I literally had to walk at them and almost jog at them to get them to even realize, like, oh, hey, like, let's get out of here. And I got within probably 20 yards of all of them. And then I realized at the end of it, these birds don't get hunted enough that they're probably used to the farmer being in here with the cows. And I literally could have, looking back on it, I honestly think that I could have walked full upright, never even thought twice about hunting those birds, just walked to close enough to shoot one of them, and I might have been able to pull it off. So I don't know what that says. So I went through all that trouble of crawling and cow crap and rain and everything else, trying to be sneaky on birds at the end of the day. More than likely, because they're so unpressured, I could have totally just gone in there nonchalant, walked in there, and probably just got a bird within 20 minutes. So anyway, guys, that is the very first Mirriam that I've ever gotten in Montana. I got him this year. He probably weighed close to 20 pounds, and just absolutely beautiful bird. I can't wait to get him up on the wall. I still haven't had a chance to do the mount yet, but it was kind of cool because my wife had one of her friends over who's never hunted in her life, and actually kind of grew up in a family that was, I don't know if they were anti-hunting or just vegan or what, but they were out in the garage, and I was giving her education on turkeys and turkey hunting, and how good the meat is, and showing them the process of how you break down the bird and the trophy you get, and telling them the story. And it was really, really cool because just she was open-minded enough about it to be like, oh, I do want to learn about this. That's really interesting. I've just never been exposed to it. And and again, coming back full circle to our day and age, be you, know who you are, and don't let other people's opinions of that change it. And I would encourage anybody to be open-minded to new ideas, new game plans, and always do your research, because you never know what you're going to come across that might change your mind on something. And at the end of the day, don't let the media make up your mind, and don't let false stories make up your mind, and don't let halfway research things affect your ability to fact check for yourself and make your own opinion on things. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there, getting close to that 40-minute mark here. And my buddy CJ out of my roommate from college, one of them, he was telling me the other day that if it goes over like 43 minutes, for him it's a little too long, because that's his drive to work, and he doesn't like listening to 2 extra minutes on his way home without a full podcast to listen to, and he doesn't like missing the last 2 minutes of an episode. So I'm going to wrap this one up under 40. This is for you, CJ, and for everybody else out there, God bless. Take care of yourself. Take some time, get quiet, sit back, crack a cold one, and just reflect on life a little bit on your own this weekend, or this weekend, and take some time for yourself to make up your own mind on where you're at with your life, and where you're at right now in 2020. It's a crazy year, but you know what? It's nothing that is new to the world. So make up your own mind, take time, get quiet, reflect on everything, and get outside, enjoy the outdoors, and get ready for some awesome hunting season, because guys and gals, we're here. This is hunting season 2020. So God bless everybody. Take care. We'll chat at you on the next one. Thanks again, everybody, for listening to the Praying and Slaying podcast. If you like what you hear on Praying and Slaying, be sure to give us a 5-star rating on whatever platform that you listen to us on. And be sure to check us out at www.lightthefireoutdoors.com, where you can find all the episodes as well as other videos and other outdoor faith-based content. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Light the Fire Outdoors. Thanks again for listening. We look forward to getting you on the next one.